Hello everybody, welcome to Staffing at dm-drogerie markt. We like to give you a deep dive of our custom development for staffing. And we like to start with a quick introduction of our speaker. Steffi, why don't you start, please?
Yeah, hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie from projekt0708, or in German you would say projekt0708, so it's a quite German name of the company. There I'm director of HR technology, so responsible for all topics around development like ABAP, WebDynpro, Fiori, or Azure. And in this project, my role was project lead and development. So giving to you, Ralph. You're muted.
Classic. Thanks a lot. My name is Tonn. I'm user experience specialist and founder of Movable Design. We are a P78 partner, and our role in this project was the user experience design part and building prototypes, bringing the user perspective and requirements into the development process, and make sure that we are building the right things in the right way. Please, Christoph, take over from here.
Hey guys, I'm Christoph. I'm HCM in-house consultant at dmTECH, which is the IT service provider for dm-drogerie markt. And in our team, we are responsible for all HR processes within dm. And in this context, I was the project manager for this project. The goal was to digitalize the staffing process in our dm stores.
Cool. We start over from here. And Stephanie, why don't you start with a few words about P78?
Just a few words about P78, so it's easier to name it like P78. We are an IT service and consulting company with our focus on HR. So we offer to attend the whole software and product life cycle in the HR environment. So it's all about SAP, SAP SuccessFactors, SAP Concur, and Microsoft Azure. So we are SAP Gold partner, Microsoft partner, and yeah, of course, a partner of movable design and UX topics. And we're really happy to have such a good team here, but you can make up your own mind in the coming up slides.
Thank you. Christoph, can you share a few words about staffing at DM, where we came from, and how it did look before?
Yes. So what kind of company is dm? We are a German-based retailer, drugstore retailer, with a total of about 3,700 stores in 13 countries. And in these stores, over 60,000 employees do their best to make their shopping experience of our daily 2 million customers the greatest experience in retail, drugstore retail. And you might wonder what this pyramid is. Our founder once said, you have to turn the pyramid upside down because he recognized that the individual store can make the best business decision because they know the conditions best in their store. And that's why he turned this pyramid upside down and he put all the decision making in the store itself. And this philosophy trickles down into the staffing process at dm, which means the employees themselves are responsible for entering their own shifts in the system and not the classical manager assigns shifts to employees. So that's one of the big challenges we had in this project. Switch to the next. Yes, thank you. So before we dive into the nice and shiny Fiori world, what did it look like before? As you can see, we had an old monolithic WebDynpro application that was built over 10 years ago, and we developed no more features over the last couple of years. And of course, because of that, user acceptance kept going down. And as you can see, also, there was no possible way to make that old app smartphone ready in any way. And finally, in the staffing process, we had lots of printing out. You can see it on the right side of the slide. The people scribbled on the printed paper and they put the handwritten information back into the system, and there was no direct feedback that the user got from the system, although they would have needed it in the system. So yeah, that's how it looked like before. Not good. And now I'm handing over to Ralph, who's going to show you how we approached that challenge.
Thanks, Christoph. Yeah, we started with discovery. After understanding the business goals, we started visiting 10 stores. The target was to understand the actual process, understand what tools they use beside the actual solution, how they trick the system, and get some answers about unclear aspects of the process itself. We wanted to get a sense about what's out there in the reality, get a shared understanding for the whole team. So the folks from the HR department, the IT department, even our developers were included. Because like stores are doing in general all the same. They trade goods, provide services, but at DM, the stores enjoy a great deal of freedom and they can develop their own rules and systems. Like depending on where are they located, on the border, train station, at the countryside, that staffing systems can have a wide variety. There are shift systems out there, one plan for all, or the target solution, or the desired outcome, like a self-planning with employees based on staffing requirements, which are generated out of system data. And the challenge for the solution was to design one application for all requirements for all solutions out there, or even have like a change process in place. Which considered these kind of requirements or realities out there. And what we discovered in the reality was, as Christoph explained before, it is a highly paper-based process which got prepared on the PC. On the printed out document, there were a lot of additional notes and information which got added manually and updated manually. These information or these documents were located in the store back office or in the kitchen. So it's just reachable if you're in the location and be aware that something changed, right? It's not reachable, it's not accessible for everybody anytime. So the store manager need to make sure that the system is running, and this took a high amount of effort and a high amount of communication is needed to hold everybody informed. In extreme cases, the store managers need to spend multiple days to create and update the staffing and balance individual employee wishes with the store requirements. And it took a long time. And based on their planning period, they usually plan 2 or 4 weeks periods. And they need to do it over and over again. So you can imagine how much effort it is to keep the store running and staffed in a good shape. Yeah, and with these real-world impressions and requirements, we went into workshops. The main challenge was to balance all the requirements based on the things we learned out there, to cut the features and functions we be aware of in matter of what kind of functionality are available on the desktop application, what kind of functionalities were available on the mobile application. And please consider mobile were a new thing to the SAP Fiori 2017-2018. And we have the additional complexity that different kind of functions are available or not available based on time and status. Like a function is not available within the future, but in the present and the past it is available on desktop, but not on mobile, etc., etc. So through these workshops, they took a bit of time. We get a shared understanding and create a common picture of the desired outcome we like to provide and develop. And we created some kind of prototypes and wireframes to get this shared understanding and expression. And we have learned pretty quickly that the outcome of our workshops, like the low fidelity wireframes, are good for communication, good for creating a shared understanding and a common picture, but they are a bad starting point for working with developers because there is a big gap of interpretation, what especially to develop, what kind of logic behind it, etc. So we spent around looping and talking But we learned really quickly and adapted our approach really quickly, increased the fidelity, like the detail grade, what kind of UI control is behind and how it's interacting of our wireframes, until we got nearly to the point that we have interactive prototypes. And we used a tool called active prototyping, and SAP already provides presets to it, and it allows us to have a really interactive feeling and an interactive prototype. And with this, we decrease the area of undefined scope drastically, and we streamlined our development process. And by this, we increased our rate of outcome of productive code. But more important, we were able to give these interactive prototypes to our users to test our concepts and assumptions. And we have to do it, for instance, with our mobile application for employees. We tested within real stores, within real users, do real planning with our prototype. We were required to make some manual magic in the background, but the experience for the employee was nearly real, and we have learned a lot of it. But if you want to learn more about our process and prototyping approach, hit us with your question later on or ping us directly. But we now like to jump over to the actual the result, the outcome of our journey, to give you a glimpse how staffing a DM looks like for our employees today. And Steffi, please give us a quick overview how the process looks like today.
Yes. After you've heard what we've done before and how we come to the process, I'm proud to present our final process and the final apps that we developed. So just to give you a rough overview about the process itself, we have 4 main phases. First one is preparation. So there the store manager prepares the planning periods. This is kind of a power user desktop app named Planning Calendar. And he also opens the planning periods for the employee. That happens in second app called Planning Period app. Step 2 is the planning itself. There is where the employee itself plan themselves. Yes, so they open the planning app on their mobile phone and plan their shifts and when they want to work. Third step will be the correction phase. So after the employees plan themselves, the store manager reviews the planning, finalize it, all again in the planning calendar app. And finally, the scheduled working times can be seen by the employees in the store manager in the store working time app. But let's just jump in the first phase with Ralph as our store manager on this side.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in the role as a store manager, and I'm go to my back office desktop to check out or prepare the planning for the next period. Therefore, I go to my desktop PC, opening up the planning calendar application. And what I see here is like the empty planning calendar. In the header, we have some basic information, which store I'm in, because a few store managers are managing multiple stores. I see what kind of sales target I have for the store. We have some general control things like navigating the day and time, and have some global actions. And below we display a few day-specific information like the day status, what time of total planned hours are available, is there day comment or day information, and a few display information or display options for the planning calendar below. Within the planning calendar, we see the list of employees which are available at this day within the gray bars. We see the staffing requirements. The gray also, so the top line is the required numbers per half an hour, and the row below is the covered. It's pretty empty right now, and therefore we show it red, so that there needs to be hours planned so these requirements get fulfilled. These are a key feature within this application. These numbers are calculated based on logistic planning, sales forecasts, and additional requirements by the store itself. To start the preparation, I can add some day-specific information or day infos. For instance, DM is currently running some COVID-19 rapid test centers and a few days a week. So on these specific days, I can easily add a hint for the day so everybody is aware, hey, there is a COVID-19 rapid test centers available. By clicking into the calendar itself, I can create or add time entries for employees which are not planning themselves within the preparation phase. For instance, like upfront agreed activities or schedules I can create already so that the employees don't need to have prepared themselves, and I can easily pick the type like a business trip or the attendance in the COVID-19 test centers. And I can easily click create or create new, so I can have multiple attendances or time entries created pretty quickly. As a final step, I check recurring attendances. These are attendances like school visits, employees who work as a cashier only on specific dates, or any kind of recurring activities I need to do over and over again. I can use the function Serienanwesenheit to add these predefined patterns, which then will get automatically generated within the process, so I don't need to do them by myself. Now I can use the global action to jump over to the planning period application. The planning period application is actually a mobile application which can be used on the desktop too. It is to define and release the planning period so the employees can plan themselves. So I can set here the period of planning, for instance, the full month of June, and I can set the deadline to the 20th of May. Additionally, I have the automation options to generate these time entries based on the recurring attendance patterns we saw before, and I can update the staffing requirement based on the data or based on the latest system data. By clicking on releasing it, the planning is in the hand of the employees now. My task as store manager is done. And Stefanie, now please take over and give us a run through the employee experience with their mobile application, please.
Yes, so the planning period is opened, and I, as an employee, can now see the active planning period in the employee planning app, which is a mobile app. Which you can see on top is the active planning period, where I can see how long can I plan myself. So I can plan my shifts for June, and I have to finish it on the 15th, so it's long ago, so a bad example, but normally it should be in the future. And in the main part of the app is the planning calendar itself, so I can see in different colors which is going on in that time. So the blue ones tell me this is the active planning period. The gray shaded ones are non-working days like holidays or Sundays. The green tells me that I have some holidays in June from the 14th to the 19th. And the emphasized days already have events inside. Like you can see, there's the 1st of June chosen, and on the bottom I can see there's a travel plan for me. This was Ralph, as a store manager, who planned a business trip for me on the 1st of June. And there is also some further information about the stuffing. But now I can start to plan my attendance for the 2nd of June, because on the 1st I'm already traveling. So what I can see when I jump into the day is, first of all, on top, the requirements for the day. Red, where are some people missing, and green, where some people already planned themselves. So I can get a short hint where I maybe have to plan myself, where are some people missing, where I'm going. Also, I have some additional information about the details, like who is there for the moment, or additional information, like I can see that we have the COVID test center active on the 2nd of June. And maybe, Ralf, you can switch to the next page where we can just give you a short view of how does it look like, how I can see additional information about the attendancy. So I can see the people or the colleagues which are already planned, and I can also see their qualifications. Like for every shift or every time slot, there have to be a person who is has the first aid qualification. So I can check how is it going. Is my lovely colleague working at the same time? Do I want to work at?
By opening up the quick check, I get a checklist of all issues for all days within the planning period. I see, for instance, under or over fulfillment of the requirements, time entries planned outside these requirements, missing qualification, or even law violations. As I've explained before, every store has their own kind of logics, rules, and systems in place. Therefore, we added the possibility to adjust their thresholds or activate or deactivate some kind of checks based on their store requirements, so that we provide only the real relevant results of the checklist to the user within the store. By clicking the check result within this list, like this law violation, it navigates me to the specific date. Within the specific date, I can check for the context, make the correction at the time entry, which is marked as red. And within this message pop over on the left-hand side, I get the context right away, which is telling me that an underage employee planned for more than 8 hours, which shouldn't happen. So I can now easily adjust the time entry by clicking it. And I adjust the starting time from 10 to 12 and save it. And we are all set and done for the day. This process I will go through until the checklist is empty and I'm satisfied. Then I jump over to the planning period application within the header, quick link again. And to finalize planning of June, or in case of bigger issues, I can give it back to the employees for self-correction. But in our case, everything is just fine. And I can confirm that the planning period of June is done and final. And by this, the final times get published to the application store working times, which shows me the staffing for the day for my store. And that wraps it up, and I will jump over to some lessons learned we have made through the process.
Okay, thanks, Ralf. Of course, after such a project, you have some lessons learned that we want to share. First, you have to convert employees to partners. That means you have to deeply integrate them in the designing phase of your app, and you can later build on those users for better features, newer features for feedbacks concerning your apps. As Ralf showed already, you have to prototype rapid and often because you have to make sure your ideas work before you start implementing them. And also you have to sometimes think outside the box because there are many ways to build prototypes that feel real for the tested user. And thirdly, users are going to show you. We discovered some cool features that we implemented by just observing the user, and they are showing us ways in their daily work how they were, like, for example, checking their planning with a list, and that what generates the feature, the checking the planning that Ralf showed. So that was pretty cool. And at the end, as you can see, there's always a lot of people involved. It's always a team effort, and you have to get everybody on board in order to get to the goal that you want to achieve. So that's our lessons learned. And now we're super excited for Kai's feedback.